So, so then, continuing with the discussion that we were having about karma, then to kind of recapitulate what we were discussing about, we were discussing about the general manner in which we can begin to contemplate on karma. And we begin to contemplate on karma generally, and by thinking about those four outlines of karma that we talked about. And now we will get to some of the specifics of karma. Yes. So then, when we are talking about some of the specifics about karma, then we dive deeper into what constitutes bad karma or non-virtuous karma, what constitutes good karma or virtuous karma, and what are the results of these types of karma. And then, understanding this, how can we begin to modify our behavior? Yes. So then, in the discussion about what is called non-virtuous karma or bad karma, then we will begin to identify the non-virtuous actions that spring from the door of the body, speech, and mind, and how there is a difference in the karma that we accumulate or karma that we create on the basis of these actions. And then we will also discuss the results of such actions and how do they ripen as a result. Less. So the first step is to identify the non-virtuous actions that are present in our behaviors, speech, and thought patterns, and this is what we call the 10 non-virtuous actions. And the 10 non-virtuous actions spring from the body, from the door of the body, speech, and mind. And so from the body, we have 3; from the speech, 4; and from the mind, 3. Yes. So, to enumerate what are these 10 non-virtuous actions, from the door of the body, the non-virtuous actions are killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct. And from the door of speech, the four non-virtuous type of speech are lying, divisive speech, harsh speech, and idle talk. And from the door of the mind, harmful intent, covetousness, and wrong views. Less. So then, as we already discussed, for a particular action to constitute a full karma, for it to be a complete karma, uh, in, then we talked about the importance of how uh, the intention, the action, and the completion of action, that action is required for a certain action to be a complete karma. So, with regards to each of these 10 non-virtuous actions, then there are four kind of requirements for a particular action to be complete. For example, there needs to be a base, there needs to be an intention, there needs to be an action, and there needs to be the completion of said action. Yes. So then, now we can kind of see how it applies in the particular instance of killing as a non-virtuous non-virtuous action. So the base in the context of killing is the animal or the living beings that we want to kill, and the intention has three parts: recognition first, then a fully developed intention, and then elements of affliction. Less. So then, the first of these three, which is this recognition. What do we really mean by recognition in this instance? In the process of developing an intention to kill, the recognition in the sense that the person who is perpetrating this act should not be confused about the identity of that which he wants to kill. So if it is an animal, the person should recognize that it is an animal that he is going to kill. And the second one is intention. Now you develop the full intention to actively kill this animal. And the third is the elements of afflictions. So such a motivation is shaped can be shaped by elements of anger, attachment, ignorance, and so forth. So the intention can be shaped by any of these three afflictions. For example, it could be shaped by attachment or desire for, say, animal product, skin, and so forth. Then it can be also be shaped by anger or aversion. Say in a moment of rage, you kill an animal or you kill someone. And then, thirdly, it could also be shaped by ignorance, because you could remain blind to the fact that this animal suffers, and that there is a consequence to this act of killing. And this comes from a basic sense of ignorance. So the third of the four requirements is the action itself. So anything that we do to complete this act. For example, in the act of killing, uh, you use different means, to try to accomplish this act of killing. So you might use the means of poisoning an animal. You might use the means of using weapons against this animal to kill it. So this is what we mean by action. And finally, the completion of the action itself, which is it results in death of the other of the animal. So that completes the action. So then, if this is the manner in which we accumulate karma, then we understand that on the basis of these four requirements for our action to be complete, then if someone orders someone else to kill for them, then it meets two of these. Requirements. So even though the karma itself is less potent, they accumulate the karma. Then it is also true that if a group of people, let's say 7, 8 people, get together and kill one particular person, then it is said that all 8 or 7 or 8 of them would have accumulated the karma of killing one person each. Thus. Majimbalimba. So similarly, stealing, we apply the fulfillment of the four requirements to rest of the 10 non-virtuous actions. So even in the case of stealing, there needs to be a base, there needs to be the intention, there needs to be the action, and there needs to be the completion of that action. So in the instance of stealing, then the base is that which does not belong to you, that which belongs to someone else. So uh, similarly, in the fulfillment of the requirement of intention, then there are three elements. First, recognition, then the intention itself, and the afflictions that shape that intention. Thus. So then, first recognition. So in the act of stealing, first the person must recognize what he or she wants to steal, and this is what we mean by recognition. And then the second is intention. Intention is that willingness or that intention to steal something something which does not belong to you. And this intention can be shaped by either of the three afflictions of attachment, anger, as well as ignorance. So it's pretty evident that such an intention can be shaped by attachment because we become fixated on an object which does not belong to us, and then we want to procure it for ourselves through any means necessary, and then we end up stealing it. And then it can also be motivated by a sense of anger when the object belongs to a person you do not like, and just out of spite, we might steal it. And then the third is ignorance, wherein we look at the act of stealing as something of little consequence, that it's perfectly all right to steal it. So then the action itself is the means through which you steal. So then, if it is like getting up in the middle of the night when no one sees you and to go to steal it, that's the action. Then, in that particular context, it is also important to know that even in the context of imposing fine in a public system, if the fine, if someone imposes a fine that is not in line with what is specified in the law, and if they are imposed more fine, then that is also understood as and understood looked at as an act of stealing from the Buddhist perspective. So, yes, all misappropriation of funds are also understood as stealing. And for example, all unethical means of doing business is also understood as an act of stealing. For example, a small example is like fixing the weight of the balances, and if you do that, that constitutes an act of stealing. And then not paying taxes. For example, a small example is when you go failing to pay road tax. Road tax is also understood as an act of stealing. So, in the event of disciplinary issues in the monastery, then we do not have a system of imposing fines in the form of money. In the monasteries, the way we impose fines in the event of disciplinary issues is that we make the person prostrate when all the monks gather together for prayers. They make the person prostrate during that gathering, and then they make the person do sort of community service in the kitchen and so forth.
그리지 차더라. 근데 어느 시기 드리더라고요. 그래서 먼저 나가대서는 야만 루이 카도라 메시나를 잘라라고 사대하고 잘라 지송하고 가리지 나와는 거이나 뭐가 돼서는 성공하기 우리 귀세 지에 그 나와 되지 공기는 소소서라 잘라다고 세는 도스지 막 대지로 드리긴다고 메마라고 있나 아니 뭐가 쉬운 도스지 앞에 대하고 그래도 소소 농기가를 해서 와이나 쓴다고 자기 이유에서 뭐가 제일 싫어요 말이지. 이 지와이나 아니 간 차도 그랬잖아요. 마지막에 이 가라고 지다고 우리가 있자 이 자리에서
So, in the monasteries, when people leave their belongings about or someone drops something on the road, it is hardly the case that someone else keeps it for themselves. It is always the case that they pick it up and then give it to the discipline in charge, who makes an announcement that there is something that somebody found on the road, and then if there is no one who picks it up from the discipline in charge, then that particular thing is donated for public use. This is the case because even picking up something from the road and keeping it for yourself, there is a danger of that constituting the act of taking something which does not belong to yourself, which is stealing.
제소다 파주 메디기 잘라다고 그 심진 유동으로 제샤이나 띠타고 이것이가 이거 말이죠. 그 유동 맞이라지 대란 심 소소기 나르수 미잘라도 그지 나성제 된대어이나 대란 말이죠. 바로 그 나르수 누구라고 찾아와 있자 대란이 마지막에 이거지 나오니 가다고 되게 그랬어요.
So it really depends on the owner, the owner of the owner of the thing the owner of the thing, because if the owner of the thing has already let go of the fact that he has lost it or something, then maybe it does not constitute the act of stealing. But most of the time, it is the case that the owner experiences a strong sense of loss. Oh, I lost my this thing, and still there is that sense of ownership that he feels towards something he has lost. So that is why it is kind of dangerous to pick something and keeping it for yourself.
거기 제손 유동으로 제사와이나 마지막에 이제 이거를 해서 이거 말했어. 그래서 마지막에 두번 이제 가면서 이제 다도 손이 넣었어야 살아. 이제 다도 손이 넣어서 그럼 밑으로 제사와이나 잘은 이주도 보이나 되는 마지막에 이밖에 연구요 말이 맞아. 그런 거 단단 생태 유도 마지막에 보이나 마지막에 그냥 네가 되게 영향 깊게 친구 요리서.
So this is exactly what we mean by understanding the base, or the fulfillment of the requirement of base. So in the context of stealing, the base, as we already said, is that which belongs to someone else, and that which belongs to someone else means that someone feels a sense of ownership over that thing. So this is the reason why it's important to understand the base of a particular action.
제가 되는지 집어라. 근데 먼저 소소다 메시다지 소소기 메시다지 디자인이 변한다고 야 그래 메시다기 그래 메시다스는 소소기 변한다고 야지 대선 맞에 둘이 되다고 이나 그냥 가려서 근데 마지막에 이게 맞잖아요. 이게 집어라. 발음이 다 가스나 아니 다 숨대라고 이나 그 맞에 되더라고 그냥 마지막에 이거
So then, when we think about it, then even failure to repay loans is also or a failure or failure to repay loans also constitute an act of stealing. Thus,
다들 이거 되게
thus.
다 숨바데 가라스나 아니 모양 세야 차도다 다 모양 세야 되지 지바레스 얘는 이제 삼바 요와 타도 세어 도지치니 이거 봐도요 지바 지중에서나
So similarly, the rest of the 10 non-virtuous actions must fulfill the requirement of the four, fulfill these four requirements in order for it to be a complete action. And it applies to the next one too, sexual misconduct. There needs to be a base, intent, action, and the completion of that action. Thus.
저도 잘 무슨 때라지 단데 가라스나 이제 세야 지들라고 그래 이제 다들 소위 중마다 보다 어디다 보다는 가르치 와이나 소소리도 노인도 지와이나 그러니까 대치와이나 가라스나 모양 잘하고 다 때려 공부도 좋아도 근데 다들 지금 기가 집중이 그랬어요.
So then, in the context of sexual misconduct, then the base is someone else's wife, someone else's partner, and then the intention is to be with them, engage with them, and engage with them physically, and the action, the act itself, and then the completion of that act is similar. That's
다시 봐도 가라스 가지고 주스야 이거 주스야 돼 기발했어. 아니 이제 삼바 좋아 타도 세야 또 그니
So then, moving on, the fourth non-virtuous action is lying, and similarly, we need to look at it, look at this particular action from the perspective of whether, from the perspective of there being a base, intention, action, and completion. That's
저도 주스 시에서는 유스는 유시스는 유대 거리지 부분에서는 메이바도 아니 마시바 어느 정도와 어디지 부분에서 되지요.
So then the base of the act of lying must be a human being who understands, who understands and is able to communicate effectively themselves.
선바들 가르스는 선비 디시테라는 가르스는 아니 주디 시험이 통마성세라다. 마통마도 돌아 가르스는 통수세와 어디기 가르스는 디시 뒤자가 마통마도 통시분 디시 좋아도 죄를 봐왔어. 디시스로서 마통마도 통수세라다. 아니지 려 하나 통마성세라 선바지에 줘라. 어디 뭐하다 가르스는 디시 봤을 때리고
So then the intention is is an intention along the line of saying I saw something when in fact you didn't see anything at all, and then to say that you didn't see anything when in fact you saw everything.
그거는 지발에 주 수수 만들어봤지 뒤뒤지 아니 유모델라요 아니 도상가 도시는 그래서
Oh, sorry. The action itself is along the line of saying, like, I saw something when in fact you didn't see anything at all, and then to say, didn't see anything at all when in fact you saw everything. And the intention is to, of course, to fool the person with whom you are trying to communicate. And the completion of the action is that now, for lack of a better word, success in fooling the other person.
요한의 가르에서나 말도 되니 가르에서는 주시에 가지고 대지도 아니지 말고는 마셔 봐야 있는 유진난 조건이 고유하다 뭐 두르기 돈이요 가르에서는 그래서
So then, when we think about lying, then we kind of strictly think about it as a verbal action, when in fact we understand that we can even signal with our body language, and that can also constitute as an act of lying.
다도도 가르에서는 버럭비 가르에서는 전달기만 유대기 되고 같이 because 마사 유대기 되고 같이
So then, in the final in the final kind of completion of this act of lying, then you must be effective in communicating that wrongful information to the person, and that person must comprehend that wrongful information.
ngaba 참아들 딱 참아본 야자래 ngaba 참아들 가려서는 참아 제사가 유대를 이제들 두고 연아요 지거리 두고 매바 있나요 가려지는 그러니까 참아 제사 유대 니부도라 요 두고 연아요 두고 매바 있나요 가려지는 참아 제사 유대 차 두고 유대사 되잖아.
So moving on, next is divisive speech. So the base of divisive speech can be an already existing relationship between two people, or already existing harmonious relationship between two or a group of people, or it can be it can also be a non-harmonious relationship.
리신들 맞아와 돼. 시대는 바로 리시대라. 그치 그 두고이는 두고이는 리시바고 두가 있나요? 두가 있는 리시바. 그리지네 자르고 리시자 되네.
So, in the development of the intention to create division, first is to recognize that there is a relationship, a harmonious or a non-harmonious relationship. To recognize that there is a relationship.
딱 그놈도 가려는 이해돼 봐. 그런 얘기 가려서나 참고 여기 뭐지는 니빠로 도시지하네. 그 참고는 봤어야. 가르스나 때 참고도 예완도 가서 군지 참고는 거 소리가 되니까 그놈들은 이해돼 봐서 소소소파 가이해가 되가 되네.
So the intention, of course, is to create division, to separate or to create divisions between groups of people or between people. Less. So then, such an intention can be shaped by either of the three afflictions. Less. So then the action itself constitutes the means through which you want to maintain or create that kind of separation and division between people or groups of people. You create division where there is no division before, and then you actively work towards making sure that two people do not reach a consensus or come into agreement. So this is the manner in which it manifests itself as an action. Less. So then, when we think about divisive speech, then this divisive speech can either be lies as well as truth. So when we look at the divisive speech, which are divisive speech which constitutes lying, which lying are, for example, if there are two people and then you begin to create division between these two people by saying like this person is saying this about you, and then you go to the other person and saying that this person is saying this about you, when in fact the two people never ever talk badly about each other. So this is how a particular type of divisive speech can come from lying too.
소소 넘어가 자기 민들고 요에 찌 카동돼야 돼. 찌 파시와야 봐도 찌 카동돼 찌 스시로에 주스 이렇게 말하고 왔어. 내가 좀 잘했어.
So then, another example example in which even truthful speech, let's say, even truthful speech can constitute divisive speech is in the manner in which, if there is an already strained relationship between two people, they do not see face to face, and then you begin to that these two people speak badly about each other behind their backs, and then you kind of become the messenger and unsolicited messenger, and say that, oh, this person is saying this about you and this person is saying that about you. It is you are not lying at that point. What you are saying is true indeed, but still, what did that do? It created even more division between these two people in an already strained relationship. So this constitutes divisive speech.
되지. 딱 그거 직접 써요. 직접 신는면서 지주주비 신진도 신면서 신진을 이거래. 딱 직접 가서 비교되라. 근데 가르쳐도 그래서 와이나. 근데 근데 이제들라 근데 신진 대상이도 지 독자 마사 이지. 지 마사 유디 가르이나 디 가르스 이제 되지. 아니 그래 상반들은 이제 또 그런 아니 니모사가 도치니 이거래서 되지지나.
So then the next is harsh speech, and now the base of harsh speech could be living beings, sentient beings, and then the intention in the process of developing that intention to use harsh speech. Then there is the recognition, intention itself, and the afflictions. Lesson.
지도다디 이제들은 니자 용도 이제 생제도 생마 생제 메인 바스 지도 직접 마사 유대라요 니자 생제 이게 지도 생제 많이 이게 니가 도치리 위해서래서
So then, when we look at harsh speech, then we understand that the base of harsh speech could be sentient beings as well as material things.
난 이제 지바라 저 시가리 있는 데 반대 시바르지 니 모델 가르에서는 도사가 이거 요래서 대지지 아니 그놈이 가르에서는 딱 직접 만들어 봐 대차도
So then, the intention, first is the recognition. First, in the process of developing that intention to use harsh speech, first is the recognition of the base itself, who you want to curse at, or who you want to use this speech at, and then the second is the intention itself. This intention to address someone harshly, to curse someone or something, and then the fourth is the afflictions. So. Such an intention can be shaped and influenced by either of the three afflictions. Less.
그래서 요한의 무슨 바로 그들의 가라 지마와들 지자마와 배나 가라서 그런 돈 바로 거기 상 부약이 아니 지 독자 비어 배나 샤라세야 나간다면 그 용무도 바로 때는 균 연한 저기 균 면한 그 명하는 그런 들이 마하고 있나 바로 그 숨는 가라서 균 수약이 지 명하고 있나 그냥 가라서는 직접 자료와
So then the action itself is actually speaking those words, and in the manner of calling someone blind, someone dumb. It could be the case that they are dumb and they are blind, but the manner in which you deliver that is, if it is harsh and it causes distress in other people, then it constitutes harsh speech.
다돈이 가르치나 가래. 다돈이 되는데 고아 왔다. 바로 지금 마가가 그 유역진이라고 있는 이 가르치나 고아.
So then, the completion of that action is that if, in the case of a sentient being, living beings, then the other person processes and understands that insult or those harsh words that you have inflicted upon them. So then, now I think when we talk about idle talk, I think we can understand this for ourselves. We can figure out what is the base, what is the intention, what is the action, and what is the completion of the action. Mm. So then, the base of idle talk is meaningless, the pursuit of meaningless conversation. Mm. And then, in the process of developing an intention to engage in idle talk, uh, the first is the recognition of the subject that you want to talk about. So then, I think even if even if you have a conversation partner or not, if you begin to talk meaninglessly in the sense of babbling on your own, that can also constitute idle talk. So the intention, I think, is pretty clear that it is a pursuit of meaningless. The intention to pursue a meaningless conversation, just to kill time and so forth. And then the afflictions, yeah, idle talk can be informed by either of the three afflictions. So the action of idle talk is that actual engagement in speaking meaningless things. That's So then, out of the seven non-virtuous actions that we discussed so far of the body and speech, and then out of these seven, only one cannot be ordered. You cannot order someone else to do it for you. The rest of them, you can order someone else, or you can force someone else to do it for you. And the one which you cannot force someone else to do it for you is the third one, sexual misconduct. Tiva esta. Tiva esta. Zindan ne thana digres jabla sukja ki tasmo. Yes, yes. Nas. Tene. So the now moving on from the door of the mind, the first one is covetousness, and the base of covetousness uh, something that does not belong to you, that you want for yourself, something that you covet that belongs to someone else. Mm. So then, in the process of developing an intention, then first is the recognition of that thing which belongs to someone else.
있으나 아니 파주비 노다 진짜 다도 소리 노다 아니 그래요 나도 종나서 아니 로 아니 뉴먼들가 도 상가라고 이거지 요한테 가르쳐서는 딜이 좀 슈가르서 잘라대만 종나서 딜이 좀 가르쳐서 슈 자도 손 나를 진다 봐 타도들 가르쳐서는 아니 딜 가르쳐서는 나를 지야기 딜 가르쳐서는 탑 제가 되라 아니 타도 도시니가
Thus, so then after recognition is the intention. Intention is that intense kind of desire to want this thing that belongs to someone else for yourself. And then such an intention can be shaped by either of the three afflictions, and then the action of covetousness is that further intensification of that feeling, that the feeling becomes more pronounced, more intense in the mind, and this feeling becomes very intense. And the completion is now when you begin to actively look for means to make sure that you have this thing for yourself. So I think this is a uh, particular action that we as human beings are very susceptible to, because covetousness in its most covetousness is that thought that we develop, like it would be good if I had such a thing for myself. That's where it starts from. So when we go out in the market in this day and age, it is we are very susceptible to develop such thoughts at every turn and corner. That's, so then the next one is harmful intent. And now the base of harmful intent could be sentient beings or non-sentient things too. So then the intention itself is uh, that desire to inflict active harm. And the action of harmful intent is the way in which this harmful intention translates into harmful action itself, when it translates into action. So then, when we think about harmful intent, then as an intention, it can be shaped, I think, most probably by either strong attachment or strong aversion. It is quite doubtful if it can be shaped by ignorance itself. So the completion of harmful intent as an action is to come to a point wherein you are decisive that you are going to inflict harm upon others. So then the last of these 10 non-virtues is wrong views. And now the base of wrong views is the kind of attitude of denial that we can have towards the effects of rebirth, the effects of karma, and then the Four Noble Truths, and so forth. Mhm. So then the intention is to express such attitudes or such views out in the open. So then, of course, in the process of developing an intention, then first one needs to recognize the base itself, the Four Noble Truths, and karma and rebirth and so forth. Lamazo. So the action itself is the action is to express such wrong views or to express such attitudes. Less. So the completion of this action will entail that you become decisive that indeed there is no rebirth, there is no karma, and so forth. So this concludes a short discussion on the fulfillment of the requirements for an action to be complete, the importance of understanding the base, the intention, the action itself, and the completion of the action. Okay, so we stop here and we break for tea, and when we gather again, maybe if there are questions, we'll pick up those questions.